Hi, you're listening to How Do You Watch This, a movie review podcast where each week we recommend a movie in the genre we love and they don't. My name is Megan and I love romance.
My name is Demi and I love horror.
And this week, the movie I picked for Demi is Singin In The Rain. And I have to guess the common thread. I think I'm going to get this one, but there are so many for these two movies that I was like, oh my God, it could be, I think it's that I just so don't want to be wrong. Oh my God, I need to let go of this.
There's like two
right
for me, and I'm like, it's one or the other. So if you get one of them, I'll give it to you.
It's like someone wants to be a star, a movie star.
Yes. Yeah.
Or there's a dance number.
Yeah. So a chorus girl number.
Okay,
like
good. Good.
Chorus girl or wants to be a star, but I think wants to be a star makes more sense. But
okay, cool.
Yes.
All right, good. There were so many overlapping lines with this. It was wild. It was very close to being set in the same time period. There was silent films in both of them. That's
what I was like when I was watching. I was like, oh my God, there's actually quite a bit of similarity, which is really funny.
Really funny. I had a really good time with that. I watched the movie yesterday, and the other day, or 2 days ago. I don't know, who cares, whatever, it doesn't matter. So I was rewatching the movie, and I think that it is so interesting to watch older movies and the way they're filmed. I was thinking to myself, I don't know that this is going to get a high rating from you because of the fact that as an old movie, it is a little weird. It has some strange moments. And I mean, we'll talk about them, but there's a few that I was like, okay, this is going to get discussed.
Yeah. I think there was definitely some topics where I was like, okay. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And then the way I do love the way that everyone's so loud and so quick. Yes. They're just like, oh, we're going to start this movie and do this. And then everyone's just like this. And it's just funny.
Yes.
But I rated it good. Okay, so
good.
I did enjoy it. But yeah, there are definitely things that I was like,
yeah. I mean, it is one of the highest rated movies of all time. One of the highest rated musicals. It is critically acclaimed, but it's also very of the time. And some of the impressiveness of it relates to the fact that in the 1950s, those sorts of things would have been incredible. And we'll discuss.
I was gonna say I was like trying to think at that time. I'm like, this movie's really impressive for when it was made.
Yes.
And yeah, I probably wouldn't call it one of the best musicals I've ever seen, but I definitely think it deserves the credit that it got because it really is. The dancing was amazing. I was obsessed with the dancing. The singing was great. I liked the creativeness of the musical numbers. I think they were really fun. So definitely think that it was probably one of the best things you could see at that time.
Yes, for sure. At that time, it would have been very riveting. All right, take it away.
All right. So, Singin' in the Rain.
1952.
Comedy musical. Mm-hmm. The directors were Gene Kelly and Stanley Donen, who I thought was the co-star in the movie.
Oh, yeah.
But it's not.
Yeah, no, that was Donald O'Connor, right?
Yeah. And the best way to describe him is like a baby on an adult body. Yes. I'm like, why does this man look like this?
That was a perfect explanation. I also think that there's something about the old video techniques that makes everyone look very young. Like Debbie Reynolds' face she had a baby face. She also was only 19. She was a baby. And Gene Kelly.
Go ahead, say it.
Gene Kelly was 39.
I looked it up because I'm like, how old was Gene Kelly in this? Because I'm like, he's very handsome. He looks like he's in his 30s, but Debbie looks like she's really young. And I looked it up and I was like, oh, and I try not to let it skew my watch.
Yeah.
But I think in the movie, they were, I think, also similar ages, or at least had to be, because he's a renowned movie star, and Debbie was, like, starting out, so, like...
Yes, and I mean, that was very common at that time for it to be, like, the old man and the young woman, and to act like it was totally normal, but It's definitely gives ick factors. I have a lot to tell you about their relationship.
Okay, I'm very curious because I don't know much about Gene Kelly, and I feel like he's one of those guys that probably wasn't a great person, but I could be wrong.
I wanted to do more in-depth analysis on him.
Yeah.
And I forgot to hit enter on Google, and I didn't do it. So
that's okay. It's
but
fine.
This is also one of those movies, because it's older, there is so much information on it that my job, like if I was a really good podcaster, I should have spent the whole week doing research and collecting it and coming up with this amazing story to tell you. Instead, it's going to be really like, this is what Wiki says, and this is what I found.
It's okay.
On, you know,
we've only been doing this for almost a year.
Yeah, so. Exactly. So, you know, take everything I say with a little bit of salt, I guess.
Okay, so my snapshot. The year is 1927, and silent film stars Don Lockwood, played by Gene Kelly, and Lena Lamont, my favorite character, played by Jean Hagen, I believe that's how it's pronounced.
I think so.
Attend the premiere of their latest film, The Royal Rascal, and this is a time where silent films were the shit, and that's all they had. Few other than theatrical shows.
Yes.
A few other big silent film stars walked the red carpet, including a woman named Zelda, who's played by Rita Moreno. Mm-hmm. I don't know if you realize that.
She is the only living credited cast member of Singin' In The Rain.
Yeah.
What else does she play in? Because you said it like I should know who
Anita
that is.
in West Side Story.
Oh my god. That's
okay.
Dude, here's the thing. I co-host a movie review podcast, and I couldn't tell you 95% of actors' names.
Totally fine. And she looked completely different in this role. But yeah, I was surprised to see her name because I didn't recognize her. I'm like, who the fuck did she play? Oh, yes. Zelda.
Zelda, the troublemaker.
Which is quite the name, yeah.
Oh, I love the name Zelda.
So I love it for the character, but the movie Pet Sematary, there's a character named Zelda, and she haunted me. So I only think of that.
That's why I don't watch horror movies, mostly.
You'll eventually watch that one. You get to witness Zelda.
No, don't you get to meet Zelda for me.
Anyway, film studio Monumental Pictures encourages rumors of a romance between Don and Lena. Don doesn't like the rumors and basically hates Lena, but Lena somehow believes that Don loves her. At a red carpet interview, Don tells the story of his rise to stardom. Don says he grew up cultured and highly educated, but his words are contradicted by flashbacks, showing his humble roots doing everything and anything to try and make it big, alongside his childhood best friend, Cosmo Brown, which is a great name, played by Donald O'Connor. Don managed to get his big break into movies by being a stuntman and somehow surviving long enough to get lead roles.
Yeah, the fact that he lived through the things that he did is unreal.
Oh my god. Especially being a stuntman at that time. They just threw anyone out into the wild.
Yes.
Just hope they survive.
Ran into like exploding buildings and stuff. Like what?
Yeah. Flying a plane.
Jumping off a motorcycle.
Into
lake.
water.
Yeah.
It was crazy. But anyway, he did it, and now he's famous, so good for him. Mm-hmm. After the premiere, Don escapes a mob of his fans by climbing onto a trolley and then jumping onto a passing car driven by Kathy Selden, who's played by Debbie Reynolds. Don turns on creep mode, and Kathy, who claims to be a theater actress, expresses disdain for the art of silent film acting.
I just got turns on creep mode, and honestly, yeah, he did.
Like 0 to 100. Yes. I was like, hello, what are you doing?
Right.
I have a lot to say about that scene.
Okay.
We'll come back to it.
Okay.
So Don is upset at her, like by her basically calling him a trash actor, and cries about it at the after party. Monumental Pictures head R.F. Simpson shows off a short demonstration of a talking picture, which everyone is just unimpressed and assume that the talking pictures will not be a thing and will just be a fad, which is like crazy.
Right.
Then a giant cake is brought in for Don and Lena, and Kathy pops out of it, which I thought was so funny.
Dude, I think my favorite line is afterwards when he was talking to Cosmo. And, what's his name? Gene Kelly's character, Don. Don is like, now that we know where you live, and then pointed at the cake. And I was like, that was really funny.
I have a lot about the relationship, but like their banter, especially at the beginning, was just so funny.
Yes.
And I just loved that she was talking about being an actress and a theater actress, and they had this back and forth, and she jumps out of the cake. Like,
yes.
Of all times, horrible.
Were
But
you
she jumps
expecting
out,
it though?
I was expecting her to be a dancer. I wasn't expecting her to jump out of the cake, but I was expecting her to be at the party doing some sort of showgirl thing.
Yeah.
So this obviously reveals that she is a chorus girl hired to perform at the party. And she sings a song, All I Do Is Dream of You, with a few other girls. And it's very cute, very fun. And Dawn's just like obsessed, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
But she's still furious at him because he keeps teasing her both during and after performance. He's just teasing her. And I don't know if it's supposed to be charming on his end, but he's really an asshole.
Yeah,
about
I think it was supposed to be charming, and it just was coming across like this guy is relentless.
Like really scummy.
Yeah,
like he's better than her and all this shit. And it's like, give her a fucking break.
Right.
So she ends up throwing a cake towards him. He dodges it and it hits Lena in the face.
Yep.
So then Kathy runs away and Dawn is unable to catch up to her. A few weeks later, Dawn is just basically in love with Kathy. And I'm like, wow, okay.
Yeah.
I mean, who wouldn't fall in love with a 19-year-old dancer, right?
Yeah, well, that's true. She was definitely giving It's Not Like Other Girl vibes because she was one of the only few who wasn't impressed by him.
Yeah, she's like not throwing herself at him. And so he's, of course, obsessed with her, as men are. He can't find her, though, and that makes him very sad. So Cosmo, his best friend, tries to cheer him up with the song Make 'Em Laugh, which was really fun. And I do love his voice and his dancing.
Dude, he was in the hospital for multiple days after that.
Are you serious?
Yes.
For like just doing dumb shit?
Because it was such an exhausting sequence.
Really?
He was a 4-pack a day smoker at the time.
Oh my
4
God.
freaking packs a day.
Holy shit.
Can you imagine? And he did that whole stunt himself.
Yeah.
That was all him. And he could have easily broken his neck doing a lot of the stunts he did. But yeah,
it was intense.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was an intense musical number. I'm like, holy
Yes.
shit. I'm like out of breath watching. Imagine.
I know.
With his smoker's lungs?
No.
Jeez. It's almost more impressive.
I know. Another thing. Oh, I'll wait.
You sure? Okay. All right. I'm almost done.
Yeah, you're kind of like 30% done.
Like a third into the movie.
Yeah.
So Lena later reveals that she got Kathy fired, which surprised me that Kathy wasn't automatically fired after that. But Lena made sure that she was fired, which makes Dawn very upset. Later on the studio lot, Cosmo finds Kathy working as an extra in a different picture called Beautiful Girl, where a man sings about how beautiful a girl over the age of sweet 16 is.
Oh, God, I know. Dude, I was like, I was trying to find how much of this movie was satire. It was making fun of Hollywood a lot. Like, it made fun of Hollywood a lot, but I wasn't sure how much of it was making fun of Hollywood and how much of it was just being a 1950s movie.
It's just like of the time type of thing.
So that is one of the songs that I think was real. I think that was a real song. I don't think it was making fun.
I mean, it was nicely done. I could see it as a real girl. It was just like a one little line. Yeah. And he said over the age of sweet 16, right? So I mean,
so it should be.
That's good.
Yeah.
At least he didn't say, "Oh, sweet 16."
Yeah.
That would have been very problematic. Yeah. But he said over, so.
Oh boy.
Anyway.
Good job, you.
Setting standards, right? RF, the head of the production company, is impressed by Kathy and wants her to play Zelda, the actress Zelda's younger sister, in a different film. Kathy then admits to actually being a fan of Dawn when they meet back up, and Dawn professes his feelings for her, which took me off guard.
Yes.
But I thought this was a very cute moment. He sings the song You Were Meant for Me, and I was like, this seems like a lot. I didn't expect their relationship to blossom that quickly, but we can talk about that.
Yeah, it was 0 to 100. It was 0 to 100.
It really was. It really was. But it was a very cute. I really like that musical number. So a rival studio releases its first talking picture called The Jazz Singer, ends up being a huge hit. And so RF decides he has no choice but to convert the next Lockwood and Lamont film The Dueling Cavalier into a talkie.
Yep.
So Lena and Dom begin taking speech lessons, and this whole time, at least most of the beginning, Lena doesn't talk at all. And then you find out why. And I honestly loved her voice. It was giving squeaky Betty Boop.
Yes.
Obviously not attractive for that time.
Right.
But I'm like, they could have worked with this. She could have been unique, but it just wasn't it.
She always gave this vibe of like a seductress, and then she's like very nasally and with the ain't y'all Midwestern sort of.
Right. Yeah. The persona she was giving off did not match her voice at all. She would have had to do a complete 180 change. But
it's something that's interesting that I wanted to look more into before we recorded, but God forbid I do my research. It's that back when, like the transatlantic accent that they talk about, where they're it's very exaggerated, and you hear it a little bit in the film, and it's this kind of the way we think about old-timey accents back in that era. That was used because of the way that the recordings played certain sounds, like certain vowels and consonant sounds didn't come through very well on playback, and so that's why they talked the way they talked. So
interesting. Okay.
I thought that was interesting, and probably part of the reason why dictation coaches were necessary. But again, unverified. That was a TikTok video I watched a while back. So
I feel like that makes sense.
Yeah.
And like, especially why they were taking like lessons, because I was a little confused. I thought just Lena because she needed it, but then Dom was also getting lessons as well. And I wish I could do an impression of Lena. I can't stand him.
Yeah,
it's just very like,
was pretty good.
Just like a little accent, and she's very squeaky, and there's just no helping her.
No.
So Dom's getting his lessons. Cosmo barges in and starts making fun of the speech teacher, and then they have a little dance number, which I thought was a little random.
It was super random, and it was, I think, the only song that was written originally for this movie.
Really?
Was
okay.
Moses Supposes. This entire...
I was wondering if this was like a jukebox musical type of thing.
Yes. So this is one of the earlier ones. So the producer, Arthur Freed, was inspired to do the movie because he essentially wanted to take a catalog of old music that he had written alongside of Nacio Herb Brown. I don't know if that's pronounced correctly.
Okay.
That they had written for previous MGM musical films from 1929 to 1939. So essentially they picked all the songs they wanted to use and then wrote the musical around those songs.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
Yes. Okay. So Moses Supposes was one of the few songs that was entirely new for the musical.
Okay. I didn't really like the song, but I liked the dancing.
That's okay.
So it kind of sucks that
the dancing was crazy.
One of the original ones was not that good. I thought that wasn't good, but I just thought random. I was like, okay, I guess. Get it.
It was really wild to watch because of what I read online. Gene Kelly was a wild stickler about the dance. He was a big choreographer snob. And what you'll notice watching the film is there's almost no camera changes. There's very few camera changes. So a lot of things were done as a sequence with the entire body of the actor being shown. So they had to have flawless moves.
I feel like the movements were just really on point. There was no, it just looked flawless. Even at the end, the last dance number that Gene Kelly does, I'm really impressed with his spins and the way his leg, everything was just perfect.
Yes.
Like, geez, that's really a lot of talent.
Yes. Really, really talented. There was a lot of issues between him and Demi over the choreography, which we can talk about more.
So then while they're refilming this as a talkie, some complications such as Lynn's horrible high-pitched voice and unfamiliarity with the recording technology causes the premiere to be a failure, with the audience basically laughing at it. And it didn't help that the audio and video got unsynchronized at some points, and it just like went slow motion in other points. And this part just had me like laughing. It reminded me of, I don't know if were you an I Love Lucy person?
I did watch it. I'm not wildly familiar with it, but yes, I watched it.
There was the one episode where they were recording a Western, and the same thing happens where the video gets all messed up with the audio. So then it'll just rewind or go slow motion and fast at some points. And it just reminded me of that. And I just think it's just such a funny little gimmick. And I can't imagine your movie premiere that happening at your movie premiere, because that's so embarrassing.
I know. This is your whole job. This is your one job.
But then people were just laughing at just Lena talking, because it really is. Yes. It's such a serious, dramatic moment, and Lena's voice is just like not it.
So not real. It's just, it is so unserious.
So after that failure, Kathy and Cosmo suggest to Dawn that the Dueling Cavalier be turned into a musical instead. And this is where they sing the Good Morning song, which is the only other song I knew other than Singin' in the Rain. Then Cosmo got inspired by the synchronization error from the film and suggests that Kathy dub over Lena's voice. And so they all agree with it. They think it's a great idea. Dawn takes Kathy home, and then he dances through her neighborhood singing in the Rain, which is my most memorable moment. I think it's like it's just a really good song and scene. So then Dawn and Cosmo pitched their idea to RF, changing the title of the film to The Dancing Cavalier, and adding some modern portions to the plot, basically saying that the costumes and the old-timey look is more in the mind. I don't know, some sort of thing like that. So then Dawn gives a pitch to one song, or not one song, like a whole musical number in it called The Broadway Melody, which I was confused at this number. I was like, what is
this
is
one I knew you were going to bring up. Yes.
I felt like I was missing something. And it was long. It was a long ass musical number. Yes. I felt like Gene Kelly was like, I'm gonna pull all the stops and I'm gonna show everyone what I can do. And he did. He did it. But I was like, what is going on here?
So I think that is genuinely the entirety of the purpose, is he wanted to show off.
I almost made it my deleted scene, but I was like, you know what? It's not bad. It's just I was a little thrown off by it. Yeah. I'm like, what is what?
It's very, very long and excessively long. And I think that it definitely should have been shorter. I think it was his way of showing off dancing and all that sort of stuff. It was almost like this little Delulu moment, and it didn't really work with the film. So
it really was. It's like, and it's little scenes. They have the sexy girl, which she was really hot. She had her leg, put the hat off. I was like, okay, girl. And he's dancing with her, and there's kind of a story going on. And I'll try to link it back to the Dancing Cavalier. I'm like, how does this relate to what they had? And
I don't know.
Is this not the modern way?
Some of it felt like maybe it's an inside joke about Hollywood and all of that stuff. And I don't know.
Yeah, they pulled all the stops. They had green screen. It was all the colors, all the dancers and the costumes. I'm like, wow, this is crazy.
Yeah, wild. There was a spliced scene that was taken out for being too promiscuous, and we will never know. You saw that? We'll never know what it was.
I saw the cut,
Yes, the cut. Because I think she had her lice around his waist or something at some point, but we'll never know because the original negative was burned in a fire.
Oh my god, okay.
Yes.
Oh. Sucks.
Yes.
I mean, it was sexy. I'm like, okay, this was already sexy as is, so imagine.
Yes, wild.
Oh. Anyway, he just wanted a hot chick.
Yes.
Grinding on him. Basically, that whole Broadway, it's called Broadway Melody, was Don's pitch to RF. He's like, I gotta add this. I gotta add it. This is what it's gonna be like. And RF was like, cool, whatever. But don't tell Lena of Kathy's involvement, because Lena already just hates Kathy in general. And then knowing that Kathy's gonna dub her lines, which is that are over. So for a bit, things are going well, and Kathy's recording for both the lines and the singing bits. Then Lena finds out, of course, and she barges in on a dubbing session. She becomes even angrier after Dawn tells her that he and Kathy are in love and he wants to marry her, and that RF intends on giving Kathy screen credit, which fair. So then Lena manages to get multiple news articles written about her and her amazing talent and singing voice in the upcoming movie. And then she threatens to sue RF unless he makes sure that no one ever hears of Kathy, and RF reluctantly agrees, only because there's a clause in Lena's contract which holds the studio responsible for positive media coverage. And so he's then forced to remove the credit slide for Kathy. So basically, RF has to remove the credit slide for Kathy. So then, the official premiere so originally it was a private premiere. This is the official. Everyone gets to see it. Of The Dancing Cavalier is a success. And Lena then tells RF that Kathy needs to dub her for the rest of her career, which is wild. And RF is kind of like in a difficult position because, yeah, Kathy has a contract, Lena has a contract with him, but he doesn't want to do that to Kathy. But luckily, Lena's a dumb bitch because the audience wants a speech from Dawn and Lena's like, oh, this is my time. You guys never let me have a speech. You guys never let me speak. As she runs out to give a speech, and Dawn's like, wait, let her talk.
Yeah. So,
of course, she's talking, and her voice does not match what they just heard. All. And they're all confused. The audience is confused, and they ask her to sing live. So Lena's a little panicky, and Dawn and them think, oh, well, you go and sing, and Kathy will be behind a curtain singing for you. You just dub it. And Lena's like, great idea. So she goes out, and they start singing in the Rain. Mm-hmm. And then while Lena is singing, they pull the curtain up and you see Kathy actually singing behind her. The audience laughs at this stunt. So Lena runs away, and then Kathy's also running away because right before this, Dawn and RF, they're all telling Kathy like to go sing, but they say it rudely. Mm-hmm. He doesn't say, trust me, just sing.
Yes.
He's like,
he does not do a good job. Yes.
You have a contract. Fucking rude. And then Kathy's like, I never want to see you again after this, which is fair because he didn't have to be like that. But it was all for show, and Dawn's like, this is the real star. This is who you heard in the movie. And then they get back together. He sings to her again. And then sometime later, there's a billboard for Singin' In The Rain featuring Dawn and Kathy, and they're happy and together. And that is the movie.
And
the end. So we can talk about Kathy and Dawn first.
Okay.
So my deleted scene was their meet cute.
Yeah, that's fair. He was a little too creepy. Yeah,
I was a little thrown off by it because they're talking and he has his arm around her. He's really close to her. And I'm like, first of all, you don't know this woman. You just jumped into her car. She was terrified. Mm-hmm. He just jumped into her car, which is very fair. I don't know if she definitely didn't know who he was or she was just playing dumb.
I think she definitely didn't at first because she pulled over to a police officer. So I don't.
Okay.
I think she would have just played dumb at that point and whatever. But I think up until the police officer point, she did not know who that was.
Yeah. So she like doesn't care who this man is. He just jumped in her car. And then she, says everything about silent film stars. They're not actors. They're just doing movements, which is kind of true. And he gets pissed at that. And I just felt like the whole interaction. And at first, I was like, oh, enemies to lovers. That's really cool. I dig it. I don't like the attitude he had with her, but, he's a star. He's a big deal. Yeah. And this woman comes out of nowhere and is like, nah, you kind of suck. And she wants to be a star. So, like, yeah, I can see it. And then the cake scene I thought was really cute with her jumping out. But then he's like an asshole to her again.
He was not being very endearing.
No, and he has this great smile, very charming. He's a very charming man, but she still does not like him. And then the next time they meet, it's just like suddenly they're in love with each other. Yeah. And I was like, okay, I was really hoping that it would build up.
Yes, there was a very 0 to 100 moment.
Yeah, because I thought, okay, Dawn would help her become a star. She'll kind of like hate him, but he really likes her and he is still teasing her, but he's helping her out. Mm-hmm. And then, she ends up falling in love with him at the end. But no, it's immediate. He's like, you were meant for me. And I'm like, okay, I guess. Like,
all right.
Sure. I definitely would not have the same response. I don't know if I'd ever want to see this man again. But that was my biggest critique. I really wish there was more build up to the romance. I think it was cute. I think they had a really cute chemistry together, but I just was like, I needed more build up.
Yeah, I completely agree. It was a little bit there wasn't enough in between time.
Right. It was just like there. And then and I think too, it would have been a completely different movie. But I think it would have been interesting to see this movie from this perspective of Kathy.
Yes.
As, you know, her trying to get into, you know, become a star, and then Dawn is there. And I think it would have been really interesting. It definitely would have been a different movie. Yes. But I really loved her singing and dancing. And I definitely wanted to see more of her. It would have been nice to see.
She was not a trained dancer.
Really?
No, she had no experience, and she basically, Gene Kelly was the one who taught her, and he was a massive jerk to her the entire time.
Oh my God.
And one time she ran out of the room crying, hid under a piano, and Fred Astaire found her and helped teach her how to do some of the dance moves. Yeah.
Only 19. Like, that's crazy. Because I was thinking, I'm like, oh my God, she's killing it.
Yeah.
She's only 19. Like, that's crazy.
Gene Kelly put them through it. There was a 14-hour day when they did Good Morning, the Good Morning song.
Yeah.
They did that for 14 hours, I think. And by the end, her feet were bleeding.
My God. Because it's all like tap dancing. They're all tap dancing.
Yes. It's intense.
That's not easy.
And she's in heels.
Yeah.
So it was.
And they probably weren't good heels.
No. And her face was smiling the whole time. So I do not know how she was able to act through that pain.
No.
Let me see. There's another note I wanted to make about. Reynolds called Kelly a, quote, cruel taskmaster who constantly criticized her. I could never. She later said, quote, the two hardest things I ever did in my life are childbirth and singing in the rain.
Oh my God.
So it was intense.
Holy crap.
Yeah.
Yeah. I could see it. Like I said, it was, everything was on point.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think there was anything that was misstepped or looked off. Everyone was on their game.
Yes.
So it was very impressive to see.
Yes.
But holy shit.
Yeah. Really wild.
Yeah. I was thinking, I'm like, what else have I seen Debbie Reynolds in? And the only other thing I've seen her in is Halloween Town.
Stop. Halloween Town? Who did she play in Halloween Town?
The grandmother.
Oh my God.
So it wasn't even like singing or anything. She was just like in it.
It's a totally different. I don't know.
Because I haven't seen anything else with Gene Kelly. I didn't think.
No.
I looked
Let me
real
look.
quickly. And then Debbie Reynolds as well. But a lot of their, you know, most of their shit was in the 50s.
Yeah, it's like if you're very into old movies, you would be familiar with them, but I'm not really that big of an old movie fan. He's in An American in Paris, which apparently had a similar scene to the Broadway one.
I think did he get an award? He was like most known for that one.
Yes, he was very well known for that. Yeah, I don't know any of those. And then
I was thinking, I haven't really watched a lot of older musicals.
No,
there were a lot.
Yeah, I'm really mostly the newer stuff. I don't watch that many. Yeah, okay, I've seen her as a grandma in One for the Money, apparently.
She's like in a lot of random shit.
Yeah, she's a granny in The Penguins of Madagascar. She's Nana Possible in Kim Possible.
Okay.
She's a lot of grandmas. Lulu Pickles and Rugrats. But yeah, I am not super familiar with her work, so.
It was Lulu Pickles, the baby?
For 2
Is that
years.
the baby?
I don't know, dude.
Oh, she was a grandma. I should have known.
Oh my God, her and being a grandmother, that is so funny.
Hey.
Go for
as a
her.
grandma,
You got a trope.
That's what you got. Yeah, you got a good grandma voice.
Yep.
I think she was just famous. So they were like, hey, if we can get Demi Reynolds to be in this.
Pay her for it, whatever.
Yeah, good for her.
Yeah.
Oh, that's funny. I really loved Lena's character. She was a bitch.
Yes.
She was I loved the way she was. Yeah, I thought the actress killed it.
Did an amazing job.
She was so funny. And her voice was so funny. Because when you said she had an annoying voice, I was really curious what it was going to be.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh my God.
Yes. It was really great. She did a really good job playing that out. I was very impressed.
Yeah, I loved her as a villain character. And it's like, it is kind of sad, you know, because silent film is such a different, like, I feel like I could have done silent films.
Yeah.
But a talking movie, no. It's just such a different type of thing. It really is just a lot of face acting. And you can't do that. You can't do that with real acting, or it just looks really bad.
Right. I mean, they even show that with the actress Alina when she keeps moving her head left and right very dramatically, and it doesn't make sense. It works with a silent film when there has to be very pantomime behaviors, but that doesn't translate very well into this new, more subtle art, which is really interesting. And one of the things that they talked about in some of these critical reviews is that in the 1950s, a lot of people still remembered the silent picture films. So they had to be very, very careful when creating this whole wardrobe and costume. The costume designer said it was the most challenging job they ever worked on, and they did Gone with the Wind. And they said it's just because it is more memorable in people's minds, so it's more recent, and they had to pay homage to something that most people would remember. And so it was well done enough that people were, they took it well.
I can't imagine being a famous silent film star and then Talking Movies comes out and you're completely out of the job. Yeah. That's wild. Yeah. That's wild.
That's why it reminds me of the song Video Killed the Radio Star, because it is just the transition of one media to another where you're made well for one, but maybe that doesn't translate as well into the next newer thing.
Because it worked out for Don because he could sing and dance.
Yes. But
somehow,
Lena couldn't. So...
Lena, cool and fucked, I guess.
Yeah, exactly. Something interesting.
They could have made it. Sorry, they could have made it worse with the dubbing for someone to get credit for, but
yes,
I don't know if it would have been taken as well as more modern movies that still do someone else does the singing.
Yeah,
or someone talking.
What's interesting is that with this whole dubbing storyline, Debbie Reynolds a couple of times was dubbed in the movie, which is wild because she is the one dubbing for someone else, but someone's dubbing for her. So it's like dubception.
Was it was it like for speaking or singing?
It was, in some of it was her really high notes in some of her songs, but there was a couple of lines when she was speaking where they felt like Reynolds' voice was wasn't as refined as they would like. And I think it was when she was doing the dubbing for Lena as the princess or whatever she was supposed to be, they wanted it to sound even more regal, so they'd use someone else.
I was gonna say she did sound extra in that. And wow, I didn't notice
it did sound off. I did notice.
Okay,
I was like, that didn't click for me. And then reading about her being dubbed, I was like, oh, okay.
Makes sense.
There's a lot of things about nuances, about different musical numbers and stuff like that.
Yeah, I think my biggest critique, two things for the movie, would be, one is the romance aspect of it.
Yeah.
But it doesn't seem like that was the number one thing for this movie anyway, but I wish that was done a little better. And then the other thing is and it could have been of the time, I don't know, but I feel like a lot of the musical numbers didn't really add to the plot.
Yes.
It was just, they would sing, and then it just felt like they were doing performance. I don't know. It felt very Inception-y, where it doesn't feel like they're singing for the movie. It just feels like, all right, we're doing a little show, a little thingy.
Yeah, so that was my next biggest critique for the movie, is that the singing and dancing numbers weren't the most intertwined with everything. And I felt like it does read as the type of film it is, which is they picked a bunch of songs they liked and they mushed them together into a movie. And it was interesting and it was good, but some of it, especially the Broadway one, where I really could have done without that. I could have done without, there was a weird transition scene at the beginning of the Beautiful Girls song that I was unsure about. It was almost like a weird filming technique where they were doing quick splices of different scenes. That was kind of strange too. I feel like they were just kind of trying to show off. But regardless, that was my biggest critique, was that I would have liked what we see in movies that are where music is made for the movie. It feels like a more cohesive storyline.
I feel like the first number that Kathy does with the chorus girls, that work that was in the scene. The Singin' in the Rain scene, of course, went well with the scene. I also like their duet, the one where he sings to her, has feelings for her. I feel like that one worked too because he brought her to the studio and set it up nice, and it was very cute. I know you haven't seen La La Land, but I feel like they had to.
I have.
You have?
Yeah, I just didn't like
think
it.
Brett. I thought you didn't watch it because you were.
No, I watched it. I didn't like it.
Yeah. Okay.
I didn't like the sad ending, and I didn't like the whiteicization.
The whitewashing.
Yeah, the whitewashing is the word.
I was gonna say the scene of them dancing outside under the moonlight. It just reminded me of this scene.
Yeah,
with, like the way they danced.
This movie,
so I feel like it had to have inspired it.
It did.
Yeah.
It did. That's one of my facts. Is that it inspired La La Land.
Oh.
Yeah.
Look at me.
Yeah. Look at you.
Look at me. So, but no, I liked the numbers. I think they were done really well, but I wish they flowed better.
Yeah.
But I think I could see people watching this for fun and it being an escapism type of thing. You're just,
Yeah, it is.
It's
a
good
fun
time.
Gene Kelly had a high fever during the Singin' in the Rain number, FYI.
Oh my God.
Can you imagine?
No, he's all wet.
Yes. It took 3 days apparently to film that. And during one of those days, he had a high fever, which I would assume it would be one of the later ones, probably because he kept getting wet.
Yeah, I would say because he's constantly drenched in water.
Atrocious. He also choreographed his dance scenes with that babe, Sid Charisse, during the Broadway scenes. She's taller than him in heels, and he specifically choreographed it so you couldn't tell.
I was going to say she looked tall.
Yes.
What a bum.
Yeah. But, not surprised. He clearly had a bit of a diva complex. And he later admitted that he doesn't know why Reynolds would ever talk to him again after working with her on that film.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
What a bum.
Oh, there is a song that I think might have been taken out, but in one of the releases, "You Are My Lucky Star," Sigourney Weaver sings that in Alien when the alien's coming for her.
Oh,
so
interesting.
It's a reference to this movie.
That was the song he sings at the end to her.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, yes. Okay, yeah. So that's what she's singing. Okay, so it wasn't
very cool.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah, and there's some more nuance to it, but I don't think it's worth getting into.
Yeah, I think I've talked all my bits.
Yeah.
It's hard to tell how long we've been talking because
I know. I'm sorry. It's probably only been 30 minutes if I'm being realistic because I cut us off so much.
I don't think it's only been 30 minutes.
I don't know. Maybe longer, but this definitely was a Megan chaos episode. I stopped recording like 3 times because of life. So I apologize. I owe you big time.
It's fine because you're the one editing this.
Yeah,
so
it'll be chaos for me, but whatever.
It's fine.
Yeah.
I can go through the rest of my stuff. Yeah. We can still talk about my answers here. So, love interest. I said pass on both. Dawn, I'm a little like maybe.
Yeah.
I think he's very charming, and I think he's very handsome. I thought he was very handsome and talented, but he just yeah. Maybe for the time I could have been like, ooh. Yeah. But now as a modern woman, I'd be like, I'm gonna have a restraining order against you.
Yeah.
And then Kathy's 19-year-old. She's just a little too young.
Yes.
So
yeah, agreed.
Side character, I also said pass for Lena.
Yeah.
And for Cosmo because he looks like a baby adult.
Fair.
And his type of humor would drive me fucking crazy after a while. And then Lena, of course, her voice, and she's a bad person. So
yeah.
How likely to fall in love? I said 5.
Okay.
Totally depends.
Okay.
If Dawn was nicer for longer, like a build up, maybe.
Yeah.
But I don't know if I would have fallen in love with him as quickly. I definitely would not fall in love with him as quickly as Kathy did.
He would have needed to be way sweeter for way longer.
Yeah, some build up, but maybe. I would recommend it. It's a musical. I don't know. Unless you don't like musicals.
It's a musical.
Sorry, you have a sad life.
Right.
So I gave it a 3.9.
Okay.
I did enjoy it, but I don't know if I would throw it on for fun. You know, it's one of those movies where I'm like, oh, I watched it. I would recommend it, but I probably wouldn't watch it.
Yeah.
I
get
whatever,
it.
but
I'm not offended. It is a very highly well-rated film, but it's not going to become my comfort movie. I know for a lot of people it is.
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
it must be better when you have less modern knowledge of movies.
Yeah, I could see this being, people in the 80s and 70s that really were young with
Yeah.
this movie, and I could see them being a nostalgic thing and really loving it.
But I
Uh,
will say my roommate in college who was a drama major
yeah,
loved this movie. And I think that
yeah,
part of that is the dancing and the singing and
I
that
could see that.
there is such artistry to it and so well done. So if you have a deep
Yeah.
appreciation for that aspect of it, I am impressed by dance, but watching 10 minutes of a dance number is not super exciting for me. So I feel
I
like,
think if it wasn't just white people, it would
yeah,
have been a little bit more interesting.
yeah,
Not that they were
probably.
bad, but it's like you can only take so much tap dancing,
Yeah,
you know?
yeah. I love a good
So,
tap dance, but 10 different tap dancing songs
yeah,
is a lot of tap
there's
dancing
only so
songs.
much tap dancing you
Yeah,
can do,
yeah,
but it was done very well. So, yeah, I could definitely see theater people being really obsessed with this movie
yeah,
because there's a lot to look at and pick
yeah,
at. So,
yeah, definitely.
oh gosh. Okay.
I know.
So, Singing in the Rain. All right. So, my movie for you,
Okay.
I've not watched in so long, and I was like, you know what? Let me watch it again because when I remembered it, I really loved it, and I don't want to give her complete garbage because it's an older movie,
Yeah.
but I thought it was still good. It's
Okay.
not as scary as I remember. I remember it really creeping me out.
Uh-huh.
It doesn't hold up that well, but I I'm gonna give it to you because I think
Okay.
it is considered a classic kind of. I think it won an award, which is very
Okay.
rare for horror movies. But it is called The Others.
I've never heard of it.
It's got Nicole Kidman.
Okay. I've heard of her.
You've heard of it from the theater.
Yes.
Uh,
From the theater
theater
ads.
commercial.
Yes. In her silver suit.
What does she say?
Oh God. It's iconic, and yet
The-
I cannot currently remember.
I know I can't. I wish I could quote the whole thing
I
for you
know.
guys
Some
right
people
now.
have it Like, did you see people on TikTok doing
Dressed
the
up
whole thing?
as
Oh my God.
It's so funny.
Yes.
So The Others is a 2001 movie, so it's old, but it's about this woman and she lives with her two young children in this gorgeous home in England, and this is going on during World War II, and she is pretty much there waiting for her husband to come back from war while also protecting her kids from this rare disease they have from the
Oh.
sun, so they
Oh.
can't leave. And then
Are
weird
they
things start happening.
vampires?
They're not vampires. They just have it's a photosensitivity disease.
Okay.
I don't know. It's weird.
Yeah.
So, weird things start happening when three new servants come to
Uh-oh.
help with the house.
Okay.
And yeah,
Oh God.
things
They're
start
the
happening,
others.
so
The servants are the others. I don't know. All right.
find out who the others are. But
God.
this is a cool one.
Okay.
I do
What year
like
is
this one.
it? The 80s?
2001.
Oh, 80s.
It's not super old, but yeah,
I don't even know
it's
how
older.
old Nicole Kidman is. So
Uh, I don't know how old she would have been in this movie.
yeah, younger.
Younger, but yeah. So we'll see what you think
Yeah.
about it
Yeah. Next week on How Do You Watch This?
next week on How Do You Watch
Thanks
This.
for bearing with us this week. Hopefully it comes together somewhat cohesively. I probably would have given such better commentary if I wasn't so distracted by the drama that my dogs were creating, but such is life.
I feel like this had some pretty good commentary.
You can find us on social media on Instagram, How Do You Watch This? How Do You Watch This at gmail.com, TikTok, How Do You Watch? And we appreciate you. And we'll see you in one whole week.
Yep.
Bye.
Goodbye, peoples.